The Roman Forum was a site located at the center of the ancient city of Rome and was considered the heart of Rome. It was a location of important religious, political, and social activities such as elections, public speeches, criminal trials, gladiator matches before the Colosseum was built, social gatherings, business dealings, public meetings, religious ceremonies, educational events, and buying, selling, and trading of items. Historians believe people first began publicly meeting in the open-air forum around 500 BC, when the Roman Republic was founded. The rectangular-shaped area, which is located between Palatine Hill and Capitoline Hill, was home to many of the ancient city's most impressive temples and monuments. Today, the Roman Forum is one of the most famous tourist sites in the world, attracting more than 4.5 million visitors annually, including us in the summer of 2018. The biggest and last building built in the Forum was the Basilica of Maxentius and Constantine. The basilica was started by Emperor Maxentius in 308 AD and finished by Emperor Constantine in 313 AD. A basilica is a covered meeting place, often serving as a Roman hall of justice. The basilica housed a court of justice as well as a market. Citizens came here to get building permits, settle inheritances, or sue somebody. The Temple of Romulus is another rare example of a well-preserved Roman monument. It's intact because it was turned into the entrance to a church still functioning today. Though it's a bit confusing, it's not dedicated to the founder of Rome, but to the son of the Emperor Maxentius, who died at a very young age in the 4th century AD. The bronze door is original, and supposedly the ancient key mechanism still works. The Temple of Antoninus and Faustina is one of the most surprising monuments in the whole place. The Senate dedicated it to the Emperor Antoninus Pius and his wife Faustina after their death. The temple is one of the few well-preserved buildings here because during the Middle Ages it was transformed into a church and escaped the rabid quest for building material, but just barely. If you look closely on the upper part of the columns, you'll see traces of the ropes used during one of the attempts to pull them down for reuse. This is what's left of the Temple of Vesta. The Temple of Vesta was a circular-shaped temple that was dedicated to Vesta, the goddess of hearth, home, and family. Shown here is the Temple of Castor and Pollux. Historians believe this temple was completed in about 484 BC. It was dedicated to the Roman twin demigods, Castor and Pollux, and underwent several construction phases. Here are the ruins of the Temple of the Divine Julius. Julius Caesar was a Roman general and politician who named himself dictator of the Roman Empire, a rule that lasted less than 1 year before he was famously assassinated by political rivals in 44 BC. His body was cremated here, and his adopted son Augustus ordered an altar, then a temple to be built to honor his father. Today, little remains of the temple due to the removal of precious stone over the centuries that followed. You can still make out the semicircular shape in some of the altar. Even after more than 2,000 years, people still leave flowers and notes in Caesar's honor. The Basilica Aemilia was first built in 179 BC, but was destroyed and rebuilt several times until 34 BC. It was a public building and mainly a place for business and meetings. The basilica was regarded by Pliny, a Roman writer, as one of the most beautiful buildings in ancient Rome. This luxurious public hall was decorated with precious marbles and columns. Pictured here is the Senate House, also known as the Curia. This was the building of the Roman Senate where the emperors and the senators met to discuss important affairs. Here we are walking the Via Sacra, the main road of the Forum, and one of the oldest and most famous roads in all of Rome. This road was dedicated to processions celebrating war victories. When a Roman general had killed at least 5,000 enemies and conquered new territories, he could then enter victoriously into the city, dressed in his armor. He would pass along the Via Sacra and under the triumphal arches. The Arch of Septimius Severus celebrated the conquest of a new territory for the empire, as well as the victory by Septimius Severus and his two sons, Caracalla and Geta, against the Palatine, a sworn enemy of Rome. The arch is completely covered in marble and decorated with sculpted panels. When the emperor died, Caracalla didn't want to share power with his brother, so he had his brother Geta assassinated. In an attempt to have him forgotten, Caracalla had Geta's monument and all mentions or images of him destroyed, including from this arch. Caracalla went down in history as one of Rome's cruelest emperors. This is the Temple of Saturn. The first Temple of Saturn was built around 498 BC and is considered one of the earliest temples in the Roman Forum. But it was rebuilt years later, and the current ruins date back to roughly 42 BC. This building was dedicated to Saturn, the god of agriculture, and was used as a treasury where Rome's money was managed and kept. In the backdrop of the Forum is the Tabularium, built in 78 BC. It was the official records office of ancient Rome. The bronze tablets of laws and decrees were kept here. It also housed the offices of many city officials. Do you see that lonesome column standing there? Well, a row of large columns used to be in this spot to honor very important people. Today, only one is still standing. It is one dedicated to Emperor Phocas. He was a Byzantine emperor and probably would have remained unknown had the column not been set up in his honor. This column is truly a symbol because it was the very last monument erected in the Roman Forum in 600 AD. The Vestal Virgins lived in this two-story building. The Vestals were a group of priestesses of the Roman goddess Vesta. They were responsible for looking after the sacred fire of Vesta, which was not allowed to go out. Unlike most other women in Roman society, the Vestals did not marry or bear children, and took a vow of purity for 30 years when they joined the priesthood. If this vow was broken, it was seen as a disruption between Rome and its gods, which could lead to tragedy or military defeats. In this case, the woman was punished. She was strapped to a funeral cart, paraded through the streets of the Forum, taken to a crypt, given a loaf of bread and a lamp, and buried alive. Standing here at the House of the Vestal Virgins, you have a nice view of Palatine Hill rising up behind it. Palatine Hill is one of the 7 famous hills of Rome. It is where Rome was founded by Romulus over 3,000 years ago after he killed his brother and declared himself the first king of Rome. It is where the mighty emperors lived and built lavish palaces. This is the view from on top of Palatine Hill. You can see the Colosseum all the way to the right, and it overlooks the Roman Forum. The view from up here is looking down towards the original entrance of Palatine Hill. This is the Aqueduct Claudia, an ancient aqueduct constructed between 38 and 52 AD. It was able to provide all 14 districts of Rome with water. The total length of the aqueduct was about 45 miles, much of which was underground. This is Domitian's palace. It is a massive 3-part structure that takes up a large part of the hill. The palace functioned as the official residence of the Roman emperors until 5 AD. This area of the palace is known as the Stadium. It was a garden and venue for the emperor's private entertainment. The stadium was completed in 92 AD and was the last part of the palace to be added. The stadium is in the shape of a horse track and is 524 feet long and 157 feet wide. This is the courtyard pool. This was a court with a large hexagonal fountain in the middle, and surrounding the court on all sides was a colonnade, which is a series of columns. In this area of the palace were private rooms that not only looked out over the inner courtyard but also looked out over Circus Maximus. Circus Maximus was Rome's first and largest stadium for games and could accommodate over 150,000 spectators.
At your feet, Circus Maximus.
This picture shows the remains of the Temple of Victoria, which was built in 294 BC.